Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. It is Sunday, October the 22nd, and lately I've been seeing a lot of poor sentiment towards the junior mining stocks, despite gold having been on a pretty good run of late over the last 10 days or so. Now looking like, well, it has broken over its 200-day moving average and looks like it could be heading towards new record highs. You've also got strong arguments to be bullish on copper, and yet the copper and gold and a lot of other metal stocks are not really participating in the party yet. And I think that sentiment is overdone on the negative. And there's a lot of good opportunities out there. And so I think the best way that I can help my audience is to, I've been focusing on individual companies lately, and I'm going to do that again today. I've got a new company to cover, and let me do a share screen and we'll get right onto it. Oftentimes what happens during a market where there's poor sentiment, the junior space needs a big success story to sort of remind people of why you want to look at investing in junior exploration stocks. Yes, the risk is significant, but the potential for reward is quite substantial as well. And oftentimes when sentiment is poor, you kind of need one of these companies to come out of left field and make some big hits with their drilling, which is exactly what Hercules Silver did. On October the 10th, they announced that Hercules Silver intersects 185 meters of 0.84% copper, 111 ppm of moly, 2.6 grams of silver. Included in that was 40 meters of 1.94% copper in their first deep hole drilled at Hercules. Now, they put out a lot of really great information in this news release, so I want to unpack that. And so, as you can see, pleased to confirm a major new copper porphyry discovery at their Hercules property in western Idaho. Another interesting thing about this is not only do I like seeing discoveries coming out of left field, so to speak. I was listening to a recent interview with Chris Paul, who's the CEO of the company, and he told me that, or he mentioned that some people were telling him that western Idaho is not really the right geology for porphyry discoveries. And I mentioned in the presentation that they were doing that, I love to hear that kind of stuff because over my career, I've seen several big discoveries in areas where they were not considered to have the right geology. So I think that sometimes is a badge of honor. They announced that the first hole to test a large-scale 1.8 kilometer blind chargeability anomaly intersected that 185 meters of 0.4% copper with 45 meters of 1.94%. They mentioned that the hole ended prematurely due to drilling challenges encountered at a post-mineral dike. However, observations in the subsequent holes indicate that the mineralization likely extends significantly below HER 2305 at 435 meters. The newly discovered porphyry system is situated below rhyolite-hosted silver mineralization, which has been defined by over 300 historical drill holes. So those were confined to fairly close to surface, but then they saw this geophysical anomaly below that they wanted to drill into, and they've had some excellent success. They go on that the system is therefore completely blind and open in all directions. And they're doing a 3D IP survey, which is currently underway to expand the chargeability anomaly in all directions and help track the system with further drilling. So the IP is picking up the discovery quite nicely, that the 3D IP will help them get a three-dimensional image of what the anomaly that they've drilled into looks like. And so that will help them with future drilling. They added that additional step-out holes drilled at various orientations to the southeast of HER 2305, where chargeability data is currently available, have intersected similar alteration, veining, and copper mineralization over variable lengths. Many directions remain to be tested, and the potassic center, which often carries the highest grades within the porphyry systems, remains to be found. This is a very interesting situation because they haven't hit the guts of the system yet, and they're already finding exceptional grade, which is quite an exciting proposition. Assay results will be released for step-out holes as received, and then they provided some core photos so that you could see the alteration, veining, and copper mineralization that they're seeing. They mentioned that one of the highlights is that the blind copper porphyry discovered in the first deep drill hole, this is a blind discovery. The hole ended prematurely in mineralization due to drilling challenges. Step-out drilling indicates system extends considerably deeper. Mineralization open in all directions, additional 3D IP being done, assays pending for step-out drill holes. Chris Paul, who's the CEO and director of the company, noted, "We are incredibly pleased with the grades returned from our first blind drill hole into this new discovery. It has significantly exceeded our expectations, considering phyllic alteration typically occurs outside of the grade shell in porphyry copper systems. The strength of the alteration, veining, and mineralization in HER 2305 and subsequent step-out holes, however, is demonstrating the presence of a very large system which remains open in all directions. HER 2305 also represents the first significant porphyry copper system discovered in the state of Idaho, which breaks the discovery gap between BC and Nevada, presenting an entirely new district for porphyry exploration in a Tier 1 jurisdiction. The Triassic-Jurassic Island arc geology of the Hercules Copper Belt is reminiscent of the British Columbia's famous Golden Triangle, where some of the world's largest porphyry copper systems have been discovered. The Hercules Copper Belt, however, is accessible year-round with excellent infrastructure and supportive pro-mining state government," end quote. So again, he points out that, and what I find most impressive is that he points out that the alteration that they're seeing is typically outside of the grade shell in a porphyry copper system. So what that tells you is that they are on the margins outside of the main guts of the system. And yet to think of these kind of grades in the outer limits of the deposit or discovery is quite impressive. Okay, so then they give you the table of results, and so there's something very interesting here. They talk about the interval being 185 meters of 0.84% copper, but the first 45.33 meters is 1.94% copper. So pretty much 2% copper for the first 45 meters. They give you the where the hole is. Now, this is something also that I find quite interesting. It looks like some of these reach the upper limits of the assaying. So, and also that the grade distribution, there's that nice looking intersection there at the top of the system. Copper is here and moly is here. The molybdenum seems to be quite consistent. If anything, as they get deeper into it, they're getting a bit of a higher grade in the moly than that at the start of the hole. So that was the plan view of the discovery hole, colored in the frog pond zone, and it shows the grade bars. The orange is the copper, and the bluish teal or blue is the moly. Here again, now this is a cross section, and you can really see what I'm talking about here. Look at all of that high grade material in the first 45 meters. But even outside of that, they're still getting excellent grades all the way across that hole. How the system looks, who knows? Maybe you're looking at something like this, and it's still a lot more work to be done. But this is quite an interesting slide as well. So the blue holes are the ones that have been completed, and the only one they've drilled announced so far is this 05 hole. So they got 08, 11, 21, 25, 18, 14, and then this hole 26 is currently underway. Now, you can see here some of the signs of the IP anomaly and widespread copper mineralization at surface. All of these boxes are where they've hit. They've done a big grid of the surface sampling, and they're getting a lot of hits: 3.5, 2.9, 6.7, 3.1, 3.9. Another cluster over here with excellent numbers over here. And right in here is where they hit that 05. Now, interesting enough, this one only had about 1% copper. And in the first 45 meters of it, it kicked 2% copper. Over here, you got another nice anomaly. Right in here, you've got a beautiful anomaly. These two are very in close proximity. Over here, you've got the potential to extend the system quite as significantly, as well as down here. That 3D IP anomaly, 3D IP that they're doing will really help clarify this anomaly, these anomalies that you're seeing on the property. Will give better resolution and a three-dimensional idea of what all of this mineralization and the IP is really indicating to them. They talk about it being a blind porphyry copper system, so it doesn't come to surface, and it's within the Seven Devils group volcanics. Due to logistical constraints, a shallow IP survey was only run over silver mineralization on the west side of the property in 2022. So that's this part over here. Regardless, of deeper parts of the survey showed a strong chargeability anomaly below the mineralization on the west side of the property. Hole 05 was the first drill hole to test this new chargeability target, and unexpectedly encountered the Seven Devils group volcanics, but accompanied by stronger porphyry style alteration, veining, and mineralization that was observed at the surface on the east side of the property. So they're getting the stuff that they're expecting over here on the east, and they're seeing it in the drill holes over here on the west. That's very exciting, because here you've got a 500-meter scale, so you can fit a lot of 500 meters in that area. Focus on the show. Okay, on surface, a shallow west dipping thrust fault shown in red in figure 3. That's this one here, this fault. Looks like there's mineralization on the east side of the fault, but their drilling's over on the west side of the fault. Let me see here. Separates copper, gold, moly bearing Seven Devils volcanics to the east from the silver, lead, zinc, manganese bearing Hercules rhyolite to the west. East of this thrust, several known copper gold targets, including the Big Cut Skarn, Lightning Breccia, and Methane zones, are exposed at surface and remain to be tested. And that's very exciting, because if you're seeing the right kind of stuff in your early drilling, it's often indicative of what you're going to find in these other associated systems. West of the throat, 2023 drilling and how has now demonstrated that the copper porphyry system dips shallowly below the silver mineralization at moderate depths of 100 to 300 meters. They give you a geological description here. Was continued to depth to test the blind chargeability anomaly at approximately 197 meters, and that's where around where they hit it. Strongly hematized, oxidized red conglomerate unit was intersected, which is interpreted to mark the base of the Jurassic volcanics. This is also something that you could pick up with the geophysics. The conglomerate also marks the top of the porphyry system, which strongly silicified andesite and quartz porphyry intrusions contain abundant quartz hematite veining. Hematite is a common oxidation weathering product, suggesting that the conglomerate may represent an ancient paleo-erosional surface on which the silver system was subsequently thrust over. Molybdenum mineralization begins immediately below the red conglomerate. However, copper appears to have been leached by acidic solutions within the hematized weathered zone. This is also important. Strong bornite chalcopyrite mineralization begins at 246 meters, immediately below the leached hematized zone, extending over a 45-meter drill length of enrichment. Studies are currently underway to better understand the mechanism of enrichment, remobilization. However, it appears to be significant, as the same pattern has now been observed in 4 deep drill holes. So they're giving you some insights into the additional holes that the assays are pending. Below the enriched zone, mineralization transitions to a typical pyrite, chalcopyrite, phyllic assemblage, which extends to the bottom of the hole, where the post-mineral dike was encountered, and at which point drilling challenges caused the hole to end prematurely. The same phase of post-mineral dike has now been intersected in 2 other deep drill holes, where it only shows several meters of drilled length. It is likely the post-mineral dike at the end of HER 2305 has a similar thickness and was meters away from being back in the strong mineralization. So they got a lot of reasons to believe that although that hole was stopped prematurely, that if they had have extended it, they would continue to see some very good stuff. Alteration observed in that hole and other deep holes consists of quartz, sericite, pyrite, phyllic alteration, with abundant porphyry style A, B, and D type veining. Phyllic alteration manifests as an outer shell of highly chargeable pyrite mineralization that often surrounds an inner shell of chalcopyrite mineralization with lesser pyrite. The inner shell is often accompanied by high temperature potassic alteration characterized by biotite and K feldspar. Figure 3 illustrates the many directions and broad search area that remain to be tested for potentially high-grade potassic core, as well as further extensions of the system. HER 2305 in this news release represent just the first blind test of the porphyry system at depth. Then they mentioned that they're doing this 3D IP anomaly that will help them get them a lot more clarity into what all of this area with the widespread mineralization. It'll give them a better idea of what's happening in 3 dimensions, and that will help them to do more drilling. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the rest of these holes, as well as this hole over here, which is planned to be quite a significantly deep one. This one's at 80 degrees, 45, 60, 70, 60. So it's not like they're just tightly spacing these drill holes. They're going for the gusto here with these drill holes based on what they knew prior to drilling these holes. As they're drilling and getting these assay results back and they do more IP, this will give them a clearer and clearer picture of where to take this project forward. But as it looks right now, this is a very exceptional, high-grade copper porphyry. It wouldn't surprise me to see some gold start to kick in as they get into other parts of the system. And yeah, it really is one of these projects that comes out of left field exactly when the junior exploration space needs it. The stock was at 25 cents just a couple of weeks ago, and now it's trading at 63 cents. Once they finish this current drill program, they're still going to be left with a couple $1 million from the last raise, and the financing that they did carried 35-cent warrants, I believe. And so they're getting a lot of those being exercised because they're significantly in the money. Now, some people are suggesting that there's selling pressure coming from people that are selling the stock to take down the warrants. And I mentioned the other day to somebody that I don't know if that's a good strategy. I'd be looking at selling other stuff to fund taking down those warrants and keeping the stock as well, because I believe that this is the time to get greedy on a project, not be looking to sell your stock to take down your warrants. I think these guys are onto something quite spectacular. And it's coming at a time, like I said, where the junior mining space needs some success to remind people why you invest in junior exploration companies. And also, one thing that is really needed by the copper mining companies is, due to all this demand that is coming from electrification and alternative energy sources, there is a lot of demand coming in for copper. But what is hard to find are good copper exploration stories. And even if you look up into the development stories, there's not a lot of those. So there is the high potential that there is a supply crunch coming, and this would be very bullish for the price of copper. So if you're fortunate enough to have a good copper discovery, now is a very good time because of the poor sentiment towards the sector, not expecting something like a big winner to come out of left field, and also the supply and demand story for copper going forward. So Hercules Silver has definitely got something big. And I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek because that's their symbol on the Toronto Stock Exchange. It's BIG. So I hope that's a good omen of what they have. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. I'm not making buying or selling recommendations. That's up to you and your financial advisors. And when you're looking at any company, I think it's important to do your homework and check out the company's presentation, check out their website, follow their upcoming news, because I think that they could deliver a lot of exciting stuff with their news. And I'm officially making this company a pick in my reports as of today, because I think I'm going to have a lot to talk about with this company going forward as they do put out more assay results and also do more drilling. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.